Welcome back. Now we will see how you can declare your variables. Now there are three ways you can declare the variables. One is let, var, and const. So the distinction between let and var is for global declaration, let is for local declaration, and constant is a constant which does not change its value. For example, here you can say let has a block scope, which means you can use a variable in a specific block of code in which they were defined. All right, so here if you see an example, I have an if statement. If true means it's always true. I define two variables, var variable, let variable with 100 and 200. Okay, and now if I access this let variable inside this block, it will work. But if I access it outside the block, it will not work. There I have to use var variable. So let's take an example. So this I keep it here. I take a new function. And I take variable if true. This is my if statement. And here I say let, I will type let variable is equivalent to 200. Okay. And I say, okay, let's not take var at the moment. And I say console.log, and I will put a string first. My let variable is, and then I put the name of the variable, which is let variable. Okay, so let's see what happens if I execute that. So return maybe you don't need because I'm using console.log. Let's see that. So there I need one more timestamp, and I can maybe split the window, and my terminal window can come here. Maybe somewhere like this, over here. So when let me deploy that, when I inject this node now, you can see that my let variable is displayed 200. Okay, this is what I have written inside the function node. This is working fine. Now if I write this here again, I copy that, paste it here. Let's remove the return. Now you can see that already there is an error. So JavaScript is already telling you there is an error, and I will just maybe comment that, and let's see what happens when I debug. So it's already showing me an error, and you can see that let variable is not defined. JavaScript doesn't know that if it is defined or not, because this is defined in the local scope. To log it outside, I have to make sure it's var. Now when I do that, it will display me the value. My let variable is 200 because this is a var variable. Okay, so make sure which variable you are using. If you're using var, you can access everywhere in your code. If you're using let, you can only access within the code, within the block. Okay, that's the distinction. And another one is if you use const as a variable, for example, the value of pi, this is defined as a const because this value remains the same. And if you want to change this value later on, you will get an error. So const is used as a constant, which is the value which never changes, or you don't want to change its value. Okay, so for example, we can also have another example here. Now here I take, okay, I can write the whole code again. I write const x is equal to 156, just an example. And I take now var x is equivalent to 45. You can see already I have an error, because JavaScript is saying you cannot redeclare the variable which is already declared as const. But if I write here var, this can be redeclared. Okay, const cannot be redeclared. That's the difference. So if you're using const, make sure you don't change its value, otherwise you will receive an error. So this was about the difference between let, var, and const. Very simple. Let is for local scope, var is for global scope, and const is for constant. And the next slide we can also cover in this video, naming the variables. So there are no some specific rules, but some recommendation. So make sure the name which you use for your variables is descriptive. Using var x, let x does not give any meaning to what you are doing. So instead of that, if you're using a tank level, you can use I tank level, which is my favorite recommendation because I use I for integer. If your data type is real, you can use R tank level. This is one way you can use that. You cannot contain spaces between your variable. This is not recommended. This is not allowed. Otherwise, you can use underscore, which is allowed, because space means JavaScript is confused again. Then some naming style is camel case, which means you have the first letter as a small and every second word has a capital letter. For example, age of buyer, A is small and O is capital, B is capital. This is a camel case way of naming the variables. There are different ways as well, Hungarian style as well. So totally up to you how you want to use that. But this is just the recommendation to make it easy for others to read and understand your code. Okay, so this was about naming the variables. In the next video, we will talk about string, double quote or single quote. Sometimes it's confusion. So see you in the next video.